Hey Priyanka, welcome and good evening. Welcome to the Career Compass, and thanks for taking your time on an evening to talk about your journey from a QA to a Scrum Master.
Thanks, Anand, for having me on the podcast. Hopefully, it'll be useful for me also to share my journey with you, see some pointers from you also.
My pleasure, and I'm very sure people will be learning a lot from your journey because many are there in that journey right now. So Priyanka, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I have a total of 13 years in the IT industry, and I started my career as a developer. Then I moved into performance testing, then into QA manager. Now I have moved into the role of a Scrum Master. So that is how I started, and this is how I am right now.
Hmm. Good experience, very long experience. So you have been there and seen that. So what made you move from a QA to a Scrum Master after such a long experience?
Yes. So Anand, in my project where there was an agility transformation, it was in name only, as we say. It was just Scrum in name, where they were just using Jira. They were seeing the burn down chart, but it was not making sense. I thought it was just something which they were doing for the name of it. Then when I moved into my current project, I noticed that they were properly following the agile methodology. They were following safe. But I was mapped as a QA for a program, which was a end-to-end system testing. So what happened is that when so many systems come into play, obviously you have that many number of issues. So then I started solving those issues. Then I realized, okay, maybe I have a potential where I can take it to the next level. Then I attended your course on PSM1. I thought I may have the skill sets that are needed for a SM. So I spoke to my manager and I decided to move on to this role. So this is how I transformed.
Transformed. That's the right
Yes.
word. So how are you feeling? Like after you have transformed from a QA to a Scrum Master, what great things do you enjoy being there?
Um, I enjoy that camaraderie with the team, Anand. I feel like, okay, I'm able to every time I resolve an impediment, it feels good. Okay, it's a satisfaction that I've done something good. When you're a developer or a QA person, you have that satisfaction comes from a successful deployment into production or a successful bug-free release. When you identify that, so I feel that satisfaction whenever I do something like you remove a great impediment or you do some creative thinking and you do a workaround, you think of a workaround that can be done, that makes me feel good in this role particularly because I have a team of very six and below experienced people, and when they look up to you and they think, okay, you've done something, that feels good.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
my main role that I enjoy in this Scrum Master is the impediment remover part.
yeah, giving a great path for them to march forward and create some great softwares the customer will be loving.
Yes,
I
it
hear
is.
that consistently across Scrum Masters, how proud they feel and how they are creating that environment for their developers. And I'm sure you'll also be proud of it.
Yes, it does. It makes me very proud because even recently, the thing that I took back from a client was that, yes, you've done a good work with the team. So when you hear things like that, makes you feel good.
But this transformation might have not have been so easy, right, Priyanka? Moving from a QA to a Scrum Master. Would you want to share what was your journey like?
Um, So when you do since I was mostly into waterfall kind of a structure and we were doing testing on third party software, it was mostly a waterfall structure. You had to wait a whole bit of time where you were idle, then you were doing testing for a whole bit of time, then you were triaging, you were doing all that kind of stuff where again the transferable skills may come in. So from there, since I have already been a developer, been there, done that, as you said, now I feel a bit more connected on what is happening. I try to understand why there is a scope creep, why something is not done on time. So those are the kind of things that I am able to give an input on, and that is uh, may not be a challenge because that I since I understand why that happens, sometimes maybe I give the team a bit of a leeway that okay, you can take your time. I understand that this is why this happened. So I think that is a challenge and something that I have to work on also. And maybe I did not answer your question, but this
No,
is
no, no.
the challenge.
That was very insightful. Yeah, and I intended to check like what are the steps you followed moving from a QA to a Scrum Master as a career transition. What steps did you follow?
To put it plainly, Anand, I attended the PSM session where I got a lot of insight. So when you see Scrum, as it what I knew of Scrum, it was not that great. What I knew of Agile was not that great. So what was happening was that okay, I know that there is a Jira, I know there is user story, I know all that is there, all words, all the words of the things I knew. But then I started seeing interviews, then I started reading about it, then I started going through all the agile related stuff on YouTube. Then I understood there is so much more that you have to do, not as a namesake. Like when you go into PI planning, it is not just PI planning. You need to learn about that. You have so many steps in that. You need to know R. You need to know RT. Who is RT? So even though PI planning was happening, I did not have that much knowledge. So when I started going through the videos, that is when I started learning. So lot of learning for me happened via LinkedIn forums. Many of your questions, I try to answer it, even though I don't write it down. So I try to answer your questions on LinkedIn. I see a lot of posts on LinkedIn. When I drive to work, I hear a lot of YouTube interviews where I see yeah, you have also recently started. So I started from your interviews and I moved on to since there were few videos, then I started moving to other agile interviews and I started listening. So through that, I started understanding, okay, there are many steps that I was missing. Then I started trying to implement that, like bringing a good retro, um, making it interesting, all those kinds of questions which get asked. All those were some things that I tried to implement within the team to bring it to a more cohesive manner.
And what's the role of a mentor? Like, did you have a mentor who was helping you in this journey?
Um, no, Anand, actually, my mentors were all YouTube videos, more like because I was not connecting with one-on-one. I do not know anyone from my circle who is a Scrum Master. But since you have a WhatsApp group where questions get posted, people ask stuff, all those places are where I learn things from. So it's mostly social media.
And you moved from QA to a Scrum Master. Of course, that is not very, very different world. So if you had to pick up like those key skills which were transferable from a QA to a Scrum Master, which one of those would be?
The number one thing that I feel would be problem solving. Because when you come to a QA manager, when everything goes to something is not going to happen, you go and say, okay, this is not going to happen. So here it happens earlier. Here it happens with a feedback. There is a continuous feedback, and you constantly get to resolve it rather than it blowing up like a volcano. So the problem solving is a great thing. And then you have critical thinking. I think you always have to be on your toes whenever you're a QA. You have to think different. You have to be critical. You need to do negative testing. You need to see where the application may fail. All that comes into play here. So I think these are the two main skills that I feel I've transferred into my role as a Scrum Master.
Problem solving and critical thinking.
Yes.
And what are the skills that you had to leave behind as a QA when you migrated to a Scrum Master?
Um, okay. Okay. Since I was not in Agile, again, going back to that, it was a whole bit of work. The whole set of deliverable was done. Then you had to sit and do the work. So I had to leave behind that mindset of the full work being delivered as a whole iteration and then working on it. Rather now, I understand the continuous testing, continuous delivery. I understand that mindset more. I understand what happens when you deliver continuously. I am able to understand how client feedbacks help in making the application more successful. So these are the kind of things that I had to leave behind.
Yeah, that's the same thing I hear when QA is mentioned, that attention to detail and their testing background they have to leave behind.
A lot of documentation that you have to do, and that gets reduced when you become a part of an agile journey.
And if you have to do this journey completely once again, you have already been through that journey, but if you have to do it once again, how would you do it differently this time?
Anand, I think for me, it took a long time for me to find my path, where I fit in, because I was trying so many different things. I hope that this one sticks, and maybe if many people had told me you would be better in that kind of a role. So maybe I would have listened earlier. I should have started my career as a Scrum Master earlier. The visibility I had at this time, had I had it earlier, then I would have picked up this role earlier.
Hmm.
That is what I think.
I realize that people take a lot of time to decide to get that initial start. After that, the journey is relatively easier. It's that initial momentum, initial decision, the decisiveness, what takes a lot of time.
Yes.
So, what advice would you give to people if they are also in that indecisiveness? How can they
Uh,
make decisions better and faster?
I would say develop your soft skills. The soft skills help you decide on where your path will take you. Uh, if you feel your tech skills are better, then you will decide your path. If your soft skills are better, you will take a path which is more accurate for you. And if you're a mix of two, then there is always other roles like technical program manager.
The emphasis is on the soft skills, right?
I would feel so because I was lacking a lot in the soft skills department. So now I feel that this role is bringing that a lot in me.
Indeed. As a Scrum Master, we have to be keep on mastering our soft skills, the core skills. So, Priyanka, what advice would you give to people who are planning to or already in their journey from QA to a Scrum Master? What shall they do? What can they learn from your experience?
Um, there is always a way forward. If the people are going and deciding to go ahead with this, they should do their research. They should see if they are able to fit into the role, if they'll be able to do everything that the role demands of them. Uh, Research is must. So it's not just I'm jumping into it because I've done that a lot. I've done a lot of jumping. I felt okay, this is right at this point of my career, so I'm going to do that. Is this fine? Okay, then I'm going to move to that. So that mistake they should not do. Research is must, and understand how your skill set is relevant to the job, and then they should go on with that. That is what be my advice.
Hmm. Good piece of advice. Research, 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 right?
Yes.
And getting connected with like-minded people in the network. LinkedIn, of course, is a good way to get connected. Oh, Priyanka, great insights from you. Thanks once again, Priyanka, for sharing your time and your insights, your experience. I'm very sure people will be learning a lot from this, and I'm sure people will be reaching out to you also to learn firsthand from your experience.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, Anand. Thank you for having me.
Best of luck for your career and see you next time.
Thank you. Sure.
Have a bye.